A tree that is not a tree. Its roots sink into the underworld where serpents gnaw in endless hunger. Its trunk stands firm in the world of men where we toil and bleed. Its branches pierce the heavens, stretching beyond the sight of gods themselves. This is Yggdrasil, the ash tree, the axis of existence, the silent pillar upon which all 9 realms are hung like fragile ornaments. But Yggdrasil is not only myth. Across oceans and centuries, other trees rise in the stories of other peoples. The Maya spoke of the Ceiba, its roots plunging into Xibalba, its branches touching the stars. In India, the Ashvattha tree turns the world upside down, roots in heaven, leaves upon the earth. In Egypt, the Sycamore of Hathor stood at the edge of life and death, offering shade to the wandering soul. Why does every culture, from frozen fjord to burning desert, remember a cosmic tree? Why does humanity insist that the universe itself must be a living thing, growing, dying, feeding upon itself? Perhaps Yggdrasil was never meant to be believed. Perhaps it was meant to be remembered. A symbol older than the Norse, older than language itself. A truth once carved into the minds of our ancestors, still echoing in the roots of our imagination. So when the Eddas whisper that Yggdrasil trembles at the end of days, that its bark will split its branches, burn its roots, bleed, should we take it only as poetry? Or is it a memory carried across cultures of something that has happened before, and may yet happen again? They say the world does not float in empty space. It hangs delicate, suspended upon the vast branches of a single tree. The Norse called it Yggdrasil. Picture it now, a great ash roots coiling deep into realms no man has walked, branches splitting the sky like cracks of lightning frozen in time. Around its trunk swirl 9 worlds bound together yet forever apart. Above, in the shining height of Asgard, the gods weave their destinies. Thor raises his hammer, Odin drinks from the well of wisdom, and Valkyries ride the wind. In Midgard, at the middle trunk, men live their fragile lives, building, fighting, praying, barely aware of the great tree that holds them. Far below lies Niflheim, a world of mist and shadow where serpents twist in rivers of venom and the dead shuffle in silence. Yggdrasil's roots touch all of these realms. One root drinks from the well of Urd, where the Norns, the 3 weavers of fate, spin and cut the thread of every life. Another root stretches to the well of Mimir, guarded by a head that speaks secrets, a spring of endless knowledge. The last root winds down into the frozen darkness of Niflheim, where Nidhogger, the corpse dragon, chews forever at the tree's foundation, a hunger that will never end. Yet Yggdrasil is alive.
Within the deep.
A squirrel Ratatosker scurries up and down its bark, carrying insults from the dragon below, to the eagle that nests in its crown, stirring endless quarrel. Deer graze upon its leaves, a goat feeds from its sap, and hidden creatures nest in its hollows. Even the gods themselves gather at its roots, where judgments are made and oaths are sworn. But Yggdrasil is not invincible. The Eddas speak of tremors that shake its bark of rot, creeping into its limbs, of frost and fire gnawing at its marrow. The Norns themselves admit the tree suffers. It weathers storms of time and bears wounds that never heal. And when Ragnarok comes, the twilight of gods and men, Yggdrasil will shudder. The heavens will split, wolves will swallow the sun and moon.
We swear
Midgard's serpent
this
will
oath
rise from
under
the sea,
the
and fire
ancient
will
bows.
consume the world.
By
Yet even then,
fire
the
and
tree will not
stone,
die.
our fates
Scarred, broken, yet
entwined.
standing, Yggdrasil will shelter the last of humankind, a man and a woman hidden deep within its trunk. From them, the world will bloom again. It is a story of endings and beginnings, of death and rebirth. A vision of the universe as fragile yet enduring, rooted in memory as much as in myth. The Vikings did not see Yggdrasil as a symbol alone. They saw it as reality, a cosmic truth that bound gods and men together, a living map of existence and a reminder that nothing stands outside the cycle of decay and renewal. Close your eyes and listen. The rustling of leaves is not mere wind. It is the whisper of time, the creak of a vast trunk that has borne our weight since the first dawn. And though our world may end in ash and silence, Yggdrasil tells us something will always take root again. Yggdrasil may have risen from the cold mists of the north, but it is not alone. Everywhere the human story unfolds, another tree appears, standing like a shadow of the same memory retold in different tongues. In the jungles of the Shaya, it was the Ceiba, the sacred world tree. Its roots plunged deep into Xibalba, the underworld of trials and death. Its trunk anchored the middle world, where men farmed and bled and prayed. And its branches stretched into the heavens, where the gods of creation perched watching. Painted on temple walls, carved into stone stelae, the Ceiba became more than wood. It was a ladder of souls, a bridge across realms. Travel east to the banks of the Ganges and another tree awaits. The Ashvattha of India, mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, is inverted. Its roots are not in the soil but in the sky, and its branches hang downward toward the earth. A strange image, yet haunting a universe suspended upside down, hinting that what we see is only the reflection of a deeper, truer reality. To cut free from illusion, one must sever the roots of this cosmic tree, a reminder that not even the axis of existence is permanent. In Egypt, under the relentless sun, the Sycamore of Hathor shaded the threshold of life and death. From its hollow trunk, the goddess herself offered food and water to the spirits of the departed, allowing them to pass into the afterlife. Pharaohs believed that beyond their tombs, beneath desert stars, a tree waited to welcome them home. Here, the tree was not merely the cosmos, it was a mother, a doorway, a promise that death was not the end. And in the green isles of the Celts, oak groves rose as temples without walls. Druids taught that every tree was a world tree, but the mighty oak stood at the center. Its branches touched the storm-filled skies, its roots tangled with the underworld, its trunk binding all things together. To cut an oak was to wound the order of the world itself. Across oceans and centuries, the pattern repeats. A giant tree, its roots in darkness, its crown in light, sometimes upright, sometimes inverted, sometimes a ladder, sometimes a gate. Always the same shape, always the same purpose to explain what cannot be explained, the invisible thread tying heaven, earth, and the underworld into one fabric. Why should cultures so far apart, with no contact across seas or deserts, remember the same image? Was it coincidence? Was it the logic of nature? The tree is the most obvious mirror of the cosmos, growing from unseen roots into branches like stars, or was it something else? A memory deeper than history, a truth whispered into humanity before we split into tribes and languages. The Norse named it Yggdrasil, the Maya called it Ceiba, India knew it as Ashvattha, Egypt worshipped it as Sycamore, the Celts as oak. Different names, different myths, yet always the same truth. The world is not empty. It hangs trembling on a living axis. And perhaps if every culture remembers a world tree, it is because such a tree once stood not of bark and sap, but of something older, something vast, stretching through time itself. Myth speaks in symbols, but archaeology digs in soil. And even here among broken stones and buried temples, the world tree still rises. Consider the great stone pillars of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, carved more than 11,000 years ago. Circular sanctuaries dominated by central columns stand like trunks in a forest of stone. Archaeologists debate their meaning, but some see them as axis mundi, cosmic trees of a forgotten age connecting heaven and earth through ritual. Far across the ocean, the Maya temples of Palenque depict the Ceiba tree carved into tablets with roots reaching down and branches curling into celestial arches. It was not decoration, it was cosmology chiseled into stone for eternity. Even the Vikings themselves left traces of Yggdrasil, not only in sagas, but in carvings, runestones etched with interlacing roots and branches, sometimes enclosing scenes of death, rebirth, and prophecy. A tree is more than metaphor, it was their map of existence. But beyond carvings and ruins, science finds echoes of the same vision in the sky itself. Look up on a clear night, and the Milky Way arcs across the heavens like a shimmering branch. Many cultures, Norse, Maya, even Siberian shamans, described it as a celestial tree or bridge, a luminous path between worlds. To ancient eyes, the galaxy was no distant cluster of stars, but the great crown of the cosmic tree. And what of its roots? Modern cosmology reveals filaments of dark matter stretching across the universe, vast invisible webs binding galaxies together. To scientists, it is structure. To ancient minds, perhaps it was instinct intuition that all things must be connected by roots unseen. Even the cycle of Yggdrasil, wounded but enduring through Ragnarok, mirrors truths of nature. Forests burn, yet saplings rise from ash. Stars collapse, yet new suns are born. The cosmos itself breathes in destruction and renewal. What myth spoke in whispers, science confirms in data. Perhaps the ancients were not inventing fantasies, but translating what they sensed, that the universe is alive, bound by hidden veins, forever dying, forever reborn. Yggdrasil was not just a tree of gods, it was the first attempt to sketch the structure of reality itself. If Yggdrasil was the axis of the cosmos, then every part of it was a message. The tree was not only mythic landscape, it was a mirror of existence itself. Its roots reached into wells and shadows, one into Mimir's spring of wisdom, symbol of hidden knowledge, the deep unconscious where truth sleeps. Another into Urd's well of fate, where the Norns spin destiny, reminding us that all lives are tangled, bound by threads invisible. And the third into Niflheim, the land of frost and death, symbol that all creation grows from darkness, that life cannot exist without decay. The trunk of Yggdrasil was Midgard, the middle realm, our world. Firm, solid, yet scarred, it held the weight of all things. The trunk is the present, fragile yet enduring, where gods and men act their dramas, never realizing they are only one layer of the tree's body. Its branches reached into the sky, symbols of possibility, desire, and transcendence. Each branch, an aspiration toward the divine, toward immortality, toward the stars. In this, the Norse whispered what philosophers later taught the human spirit is always stretching upward beyond its roots. But the tree was not unchallenged. The creatures that lived within Yggdrasil gave it texture and warning. The dragon Nidhogger at the roots, the gnawing of time entropy that devours all foundations. The eagle at the crown, watchfulness knowledge, but also distance truth that remains beyond reach. The squirrel Ratatosker carrying insults up and down the chaos of words, rumors, miscommunication tearing at unity. The deer grazing its leaves, the slow erosion of vitality, life feeding upon life. Each animal was not random, but a symbol of forces that erode, disturb, or balance existence. They remind us that the cosmos is alive, but not at peace. It is in constant struggle, a living tension between growth and decay. Even the trembling of Yggdrasil in Ragnarok carries meaning. The tree shudders because all creation shudders, not even the cosmic axis can escape impermanence. And yet the myth says Yggdrasil does not fall. From its shelter, new life emerges. In this paradox lies its deepest symbol. Destruction is never final, renewal is inevitable. To the Norse, Yggdrasil was not a map of the heavens alone. It was the reflection of every human life rooted in shadow, standing in struggle, reaching toward light, surrounded by forces that gnaw and whisper. The tree was us. To speak of Yggdrasil is to speak of more than branches and roots. It is to face a question that haunted every civilization: is the universe alive? The Norse saw a tree, the Maya a Ceiba, India an Ashvattha, Egypt a sycamore, always organic, always breathing. Perhaps it was not coincidence. Perhaps our ancestors intuited that the cosmos is not a machine, but a body veined, growing, aging, trembling with time. If the world is a tree, then we are not separate from it. We are leaves, brief and fragile, destined to fall, yet feeding the soil from which new life will rise. Yggdrasil also forces us to confront the paradox of existence, permanence, and impermanence entwined. The tree endures, yet suffers rot. It survives Ragnarok, yet shudders under its weight. In this paradox lies a philosophy older than words, that nothing is secure, yet nothing is lost. Destruction is not an end, but a pulse in a greater rhythm. In this way, Yggdrasil mirrors the cycles of our own lives. Childhood roots us in shadow, youth stretches upward, age bears the weight of seasons, and death returns us to the earth. But as with the tree, our end is not absence. From our decay comes renewal, children, memories, legacies, the continuation of what we cannot see. The creatures gnawing and whispering along its bark remind us of the forces that gnaw at us: time, entropy, miscommunication, conflict. Yet still we grow, still we stand. The cosmos does the same. Some philosophers might call Yggdrasil an archetype, a symbol woven into the human mind. Others might suggest it is memory, a dim recollection of how reality itself is structured. A truth glimpsed by ancient seers and preserved in myth. For in physics, as in folklore, there is a sense of cycles. Stars collapsing and igniting galaxies, born and consumed time itself, moving not in a line, but in great turning wheels. If Yggdrasil lives, then perhaps we too live within it, our struggles nothing more than the tremor of a leaf, our victories a flicker of light among countless branches. And if it dies, we do not end. We fall as leaves must fall, nourishing the roots of something greater. Yggdrasil tells us the cosmos is a living thing, and so are we. The sagas whisper that when Ragnarok comes, Yggdrasil will tremble, its roots will bleed, its bark will split, its branches will catch fire, and yet it will not fall. From the hollow of its trunk, two survivors will emerge, a man and a woman carrying the seed of humanity into the dawn of a new world. This is not simply a tale of endings. It is a reminder that within collapse lies renewal, that death is only the turning of a season. If the cosmos is a tree, then it too breathes, dies, and blooms again. But what if this is not only myth? What if our ancestors encoded in these stories a truth about the universe itself, that worlds rise and fall like leaves, that civilizations are but branches destined to wither, that even the stars themselves are bark soon to burn? If so, then Yggdrasil is not gone. It is still here, invisible, trembling, with every moment of our existence. And the question lingers when the tree shudders again, when our age is the one to splinter: will we be the leaves that fall into darkness, or the seeds that endure?